first and final word. We've got Nelson Jordan here, of course, and we are very excited about our special guest tonight, Derek Griggs. Derek, how you feeling, man?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Feeling good. Just getting ready for the summer. Well, summer's already here, to be honest, but just dealing with the heat waves and the rain, pretty much. But other than that, I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. That's what we're all about. Nelson, you ready?
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Finally, some crazy news with the NBA. So let's go, man. Let's go.
Absolutely. That's what we're diving into. We're talking some NBA free agency, the best part of the start of summer. It's July, first full summer month. Let's do it. So, today we are going to be talking about the Los Angeles Clippers signing Brooke Lopez to a 2-year, $18 million deal to be their backup center to their all-defense center, Ivica Zubac. To replace him, the Milwaukee Bucks have signed Myles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million with a player option for the final year deal. That would be for the 2028 to 29 season. There's also a 15% trade kicker included in the deal. In order to sign him, they had to stretch Damian Lillard's remaining $113 million over his final 2 years out over 5 years, which averages out to $22.6 million per year, which they will eat in dead money over the next 5 years. They have also traded Pat Connaughton and 2 second-round picks in 2031 as well as 2032, one each of those years, to the Charlotte Hornets for Vasilije and Micic. They've also signed Gary Harris to a 2-year deal with a player option for that second season. Nelson, you have the first word.
Yeah, so it's literally within the first, 72 hours, we've had all this crazy news with the NBA, players being signed, to multiple places, players like SGA and Myles Turner signing nice contracts, especially with SGA's, what he made. But, really the dark horse that really has kind of ignited the NBA world in conversation now has been the effects of Myles Turner and his contract now. A lot of folks, really were surprised, I think, out of Indiana. And if I'm a Pacers fan, I'm pissed. I'm pissed off because it feels like you were misled by the Pacers front office saying that for so long you guys were probably willing to finally pay the luxury tax after 20 years. And you guys want to give him a little bit of money to be staying in Indiana and then having a squad to go the long run. Because I'll tell you the truth, I think the continuity from what we saw in the Western Conference where you have, the Denver Nuggets, you have now OKC. I think the mantra really, if you're trying to make a legitimate run in the playoffs constantly and go to the NBA Finals, you want that continuity on your teams. So especially for a Myles, Turner, for his position and type of play that he can stretch the floor, be a big man that can shoot threes. It's hard to fathom what, the front office is thinking in Indiana. Now, coincidentally, a lot of folks, especially, the Windhorsts of the world and everybody else, they were kind of the tea leaves are kind of showing a little bit. Because if we recall, we saw this that was already kind of maybe happening per se with the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks, as you had stated, Chris, they finally had basically said, okay, Damian, you're going to go ahead and we're going to just release you. We're going to take all this dead money. But then they also did the first move of, getting rid of Brooke Lopez. Essentially, we're not going to keep you. We're not going to resign you. So then if you kind of did the math a little bit, it's like, why are you guys freeing up this cap room? And what are you guys trying to do to convey for the possibility of getting Giannis to stay, right? Because Giannis is now the big talk out of Milwaukee and in the NBA. Is he going to stay there? So really it's what Milwaukee is now showing to us is, well, we're all in on this. And even though we're going to be such salary cap strained hardcore for the next 5 years or so, we're going to think that we're going to have Giannis play at his prime and he's going to have Myles Turner. And this is going to be an excellent 2 big man game. And they're going to be able to excel. So it's all like everything just kind of fell in the domino effect. And if I'm Damian after all of this, I'm in total excitement. I'm getting paid, and the next team I can go to, it could be a championship contender. I don't know what you guys think, but shoot, if he comes back mid-spring, he can literally say, well, hey, I'll play for the Golden State Warriors. Or, hey, maybe I'll play for the Houston Rockets. And he doesn't even need to be a starter. He could come off the bench, for God's sakes. And then in the offseason, he can get the lucrative contract that he wants. So, I mean, it's literally this Myles Turner, thing was just literally a bow on the present that was everything that just happened. Literally within the last 48 hours to be exact. So, it's been crazy. It's been hard to put everything together, but it just makes you question now, what is Indiana's motive beyond this? And with that, Derek, I'll give you your word on this.
So, if anyone has seen Adam Sandler, funny comedian by the way, there's a movie called Anger Management. So right now, that's how I'm feeling right now if I'm a Pacers fan because first of all, number one, you let Myles Turner go. And not only did he go to the enemy, it's just it's like Nelson touched base on what he spoke about earlier. It's like what is the front office thinking? Because not only did you let Myles Turner go, you had a chance to sign DeAndre Ayton. So right now, if I'm the Pacers fan, I am going crazy. I'm going ape crazy right now because it's like, what are you doing now? Because now I feel like the Celtics they have made some moves to trade a couple of pieces away, so the power in the East is wide open. So why not sign? If you can't get Miles Turner back, at least get DeAndre Ayton. It's like the power in the East is open right now. Like you have the opportunity to win a championship. Yes, they came up short and they had injuries during the NBA finals and throughout the whole playoffs. I get it, but you had a chance to run it back and just make another move to win a championship for next season. But now it's just like Nelson said, what are you doing now? Because again, if I'm a Pacers fan, I'm going ape crazy because now the chance of winning a championship is going downhill now. So that's just my take about it. I just think the Pacers, I'm not going to say they're bad or terrible right now because there's other teams doing worse, but this was definitely a bad decision by the Pacers.
What are your thoughts on the Bucks?
The Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks, it's a tough position right now because I understand why they released Damian Lillard.
Waived, yeah.
So I mean, waived them. Thank you. So they can make room for Myles Turner, also to release, you know, get under the salary cap. I think that's what happened as well.
Yeah, they had to waive Damian Lillard and stretch his contract from 2 years, the 113 million out over 5 years in order to create the space to be able to sign Myles Turner. They also
Okay.
traded Pat Connaughton to unload his contract, and that allowed them to sign
Right.
Gary Harris. So
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. So it's not a bad move that the Bucks did, but at the same time, the Milwaukee Bucks they have to make some more moves because right now it doesn't look good. Giannis, I read, is unhappy. Didn't like the decision of Damian Lillard being waived. Personally, I think the Milwaukee Bucks will be okay if they can go out and get a elite point guard because, like I said, the power in the East is wide open right now, and depending on what the Milwaukee Bucks do, if they can go out and get a decent point guard or a veteran point guard, I think they will be okay because signing Myles Turner, that's actually a plus. And it's no shade against Brooke Lopez, but at the same time, Myles Turner, he's a big, not only can he rebound, but he can shoot the three. He can also shoot the ball. So it's a lot to think about if I'm Giannis because yes, I'm losing Damian Lillard, but at the same time I'm getting a big man in Myles Turner who can space out the floor, help us win possibly a championship. So it's not a bad move if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks. I get it, Milwaukee Bucks fans may be on the fence, but it's not really bad. If I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, it's not that bad. Trust me. And then going to what Nelson had said earlier, touching base on it, Damian Lillard, I know he is happy right now. He is in La La Land. Here's why I said Damian Lillard is in La La Land. Not only can he take his time, with his injury and, with his rehab and everything, now he has a chance to sign with anybody who he wants to play for. So if you think about it, you have the Miami Heat, you have the Los Angeles Lakers, I'm even hearing the Portland Trail Blazers. They're interested in doing a reunion with him. So, and then I didn't know. A friend told me this, and then also reports have mentioned this as well. I did not know Damian Lillard still lives in Portland. So that's also something to very much pay attention to. And then I know I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but the Brooke Lopez move, because we're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. So
yeah, talk about
it's
the Clippers. Talk about the Brooke Lopez move. Absolutely, he's part of
it's
this.
it's not a bad move by the Clippers. I like the
No,
move.
it's
I like
not.
the decision to
Right.
sign him.
Agreed. Yeah,
It's an
yeah.
upgrade from Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons let's be honest. I mean, not even going to touch base on Ben
Didn't they
Simmons.
bring Ben Simmons back?
No, they let him
They
go.
didn't? Okay. Ben
No.
Simmons wasn't a center anyway. He's a point guard. He's just tall for a point guard.
Yes. Well, okay. So I just want to come in here. I'm going to come in here and say this. Ben
Yeah.
Simmons is not a point guard. Let's cut that out. Ben Simmons is a power forward who plays point guard. But
Well,
his real
he averages a lot more assists or did at one point in time than most of the, I would say almost 90% of the point guards in the NBA. So
no.
maybe point forward, like a LeBron
Yes,
James. I'm not
I'll give you
comparing him to
that.
LeBron James. I'm strictly on the passing aspect and the height.
No, definitely point
Okay,
forward. Point
okay,
forward. We can go with that.
okay.
But it's definitely an upgrade. I like the move that the Clippers did. Right decision to sign him. You don't have to tell. It's not bad because I understand he's up in age, but Brooke Lopez brings a lot of veteranship to the team. Can shoot the ball, can rebound. He can play offense, defense. He's the perfect backup center. So you know it's bad when a coach has to tell a grown man to shoot the ball. So that's why if I'm a Clippers fan, I'm happy I have Brooke Lopez because we don't have to worry about him not shooting the ball, not being scared. He will take it to the hole. If a 6'4" or a small defender is guarding him, he knows how to post up. You didn't really have these things with Ben Simmons, and again, no shade against Ben Simmons, but it's
Shade
just
Ben Simmons. Shade Ben Simmons. Come on.
But Derek, I got
I
a question.
thought when Derek said 1 second, Nelson. When Derek said I'm not going to call Ben Simmons a point guard, I thought he was going to go a step further and say I'm not going to call Ben Simmons an NBA player. That's what I thought was coming.
listen, listen, guys. Ben Simmons has been the jokes of all jokes, and I'm just not
Yeah.
even gonna say anything
All
because
right.
it's just nothing to say about it. It's just I don't know. I mean, he's just disappointing right now. That's the best way to put it. He's just
That's
disappointing.
putting it lightly. What's your question, Nelson?
Well, talk about disappointment, but what about the positivity now? I think we're forgetting on one key aspect, and Derek maybe shed some light on this, but don't the LA Clippers now get more deadly on offense now? Because now you can play a Zubac and you can also play, Brooke Lopez in a two big man game against some of the other
No,
teams, right? Couldn't
I'm
you?
with Derek. I don't think we'll see
no.
that. Yeah. I get where you're coming from because
Yeah,
Brooke Lopez is a stretch five, but in the modern NBA, you're not putting two guys that tall on the floor together at the same time. I just don't see. I guess Cleveland kind of does that and has done it, but I don't think Ty Lue's going to do that. I don't. Maybe for really limited minutes in some regular season games and some random spots, but as an experiment, and if it works, they will roll it out in the playoffs. But I don't think it's something they're planning on doing in high octane moments. I just don't see that happening. I do like where your head's
Fair
at though,
point.
because that's a fun conversation maybe for down the line, man. Let's table that discussion. I think that'd be fun to have.
so I will say this because Nelson he was onto something. We will see that lineup only if the Clippers are facing the Houston Rockets because if you remember the Houston Rockets they did have two centers in at once against the Golden State Warriors, and that line was very effective for them. So if the Houston Rockets do go to that lineup, I doubt they will since they have Dorian Finney-Smith and
Yeah,
Kevin
they just
Durant now.
upgraded. Yeah,
But if they do go to that lineup, Ty Lue does have the option to do that.
and
But I don't really see that going though.
to support that, they just brought Clint Capella back as well.
Really? Oh yeah. But that
I,
doesn't.
I'm breaking news on here. Okay.
But that doesn't make sense though, because now you have like three centers now.
Hey, Chris is the NBA insider for us.
That's a topic for another day. Not the Houston Rockets today. Not yet.
But yeah, I just wanted to touch base about what Nelson said regarding that, and then also to answer the question as well, because like I said, it was a good decision by the Clippers, smart move. You needed a backup center. You need more depth. Ben Simmons, he just wasn't the answer.
You got anything else?
I'm not going to talk about Ben Simmons. We're going to leave that alone. That's
All
that's
right.
that's another
I'm gonna
topic.
I'm gonna go ahead and give the final word on this for the day. So in terms of, I agree with you fully. I think that Brooke Lopez was a nice signing by the Clippers. I think he's the perfect backup center for Ivica Zubac. You don't have a massive drop off defensively when he comes in the game, and he's a good veteran presence as you mentioned, and he provides a dimension in offense that Zubac doesn't, in which he can shoot the ball from outside as we mentioned. So I think he's a nice addition to play some minutes when you have Zubac off the floor. You keep that rim protector out there, have somewhat of a post presence, and also a little bit of a different element. So I like what that has done. And for Brooke Lopez, He gets to be in LA, which I'm sure is what he wants at the end of his career at this point, play more limited minutes. I'm not exactly sure why he wants that. You think he wants to play more, but he gets to be on a good team. So it seems like overall it's a win-win for him and what he wants. In terms of the Bucks, man, you guys are too positive on the Bucks. Let's be negative about the Bucks. The Bucks are eating $22.6 in dead money for the next 5 years.
I did mention
horrible. That limits what they can spend on elsewhere in their roster. It's not a good move. And yes, they got Myles Turner. And yes, Myles Turner is several years younger than Brooke Lopez and provides a similar skill set, which I don't think we're acknowledging, because Myles Turner is a guy who shoots almost 40% from beyond the arc, or at least he did last season, and averages multiple blocks a game. He can give you multiple blocks and multiple threes a game. He's also a good post presence. He's a solid rebounder. So he's an upgrade at this point in time over Brooke Lopez while bringing that same skill set, which fits with Giannis Antetokounmpo, who we know is going to dominate the paint. He's going to get the ball and drive to the paint and dominate in that aspect, in that regard. And so now you have a guy who can play on the outside and he can kick it out to him when they collapse on him in the paint. He has those shooters around him. They did re-sign a few of their guys, particularly on the wing. You're right, Derek. They need to find that point guard. That's going to be the big question going forward. But as of today, right now, I'm with the Myles Turner signing. I'm just not with what they had to do in order to make that happen and where they're going forward. I mean, realistically, we need to give John Horst a lot of criticism. He hasn't made any good moves. I mean, you fired Mike Budenholzer. Why? You were the 1 seed. I get it. You lost the 8 seed. But that 8 seed was the Miami Heat. They'd come up just short of the finals the year before. They'd been to the finals 4 years earlier. They went to the finals that season. And Giannis Antetokounmpo missed 2 games in that series. That didn't make any sense. And then on top of that, you move on from Drew Holiday and replace him with Damian Lillard. You sacrifice that defense for offense, and it didn't work. Mm-hmm. And they go out and they replace Mike Budenholzer. They're sitting at 30-13 and fire the coach at 30-13.
Head scratching moves.
Interim head coach for a few games who had a winning record. They go hire Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers had a losing record the remainder of the season. And then they lost in the first round. I don't want to hear Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't play. I get it. But they lost in the first round to the Pacers. They lost the Pacers in the first round again this year. They didn't get any better. They traded Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma. They needed to move on from Chris Middleton because the injuries have derailed his career. But Kyle Kuzma was a downgrade. All of the moves he makes are horrible. Are we actually optimistic that the Bucks are going to win a playoff series this year? Be a top 4 seed? Any of those things? Because if they're not a top 4 seed and they lose in the first round again, Doc Rivers has to be fired. And please stop hiring him NBA organizations. This guy is... Seriously, year after year after year, he underachieves with incredibly talented teams and rosters.
Hey, this was his only good moment.
Period of time.
If anybody knows what I just did, that was his only good moment ever in history.
Well, to be fair, if they hadn't played the Lakers in the finals that year, it wasn't a good moment.
Fair enough.
I know what you're talking about. I mean, and they have to fire John Horst at that point in time, who should have been fired already. I don't get it. I mean, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is such an unbelievable generational talent, by far one of the best players in the NBA year after year after year. And I get it. You won a championship. You've had a lot of success, but you could continue to have that success. And looking at that roster right now, it just doesn't scream. He's the one guy. I mean, it's almost like what Nikola Jokic has in Denver now. He's the one guy who's an all-star, the one guy who's all-NBA. He's the best defender on that team by far. I don't see it. And as for the Pacers, I mean, look, Tyrese Halliburton in all likelihood is going to miss this season. Myles Turner was a free agent. They have to think ahead. They want to be able to keep Tyrese Halliburton. Hopefully he's coming back at the same level he was at, playing at that perennial NBA level, and especially the way he was during that playoff run. They have Pascal Siakam. He can be the star this season, and they can go back to that duo the following year. They want to keep Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith on the wing. They can only afford so much. We talk about Myles Turner like he's a superstar. Myles Turner's never been an all-star. Myles Turner's never been all-NBA. Myles Turner's never been all-defense. I mean, honestly, this wasn't the worst thing ever. I get it, Pacers fans are upset. We just talked about all the traits Myles Turner does bring to the table. But at the same time, this year, in some ways, is a wash. you're worried about the future. And I just don't know that it was possible to have him be a part of that. I don't think they could pay him what the Bucks just paid him. I don't think the Bucks should be paying him what they're paying him, to be fair. Not because Myles Turner doesn't deserve to be paid, but because of what they had to do to make it happen. As far as Damian Lillard goes, I do expect him to miss this season as well. I mean, same injury, the torn Achilles, and Jason Tatum suffering from that as well. You guys talked about the East being wide open. That's a big part of the reason why. But the Bucks are paying Damian Lillard already, so whoever gets him can get him for a cheap, almost like a veteran minimum. So that's where the luxury is, and that's why he can go anywhere. I mean, Portland is a terrible team. I hope he doesn't go there. I understand, that was where he had most of his career. He always stuck it out with them. He was loyal to them. But he did his time there, and if he wants to contend now at this point in his career, I think he needs to go elsewhere. And at his age, coming back from the torn Achilles, I don't know that he's going to be the same player. And then to touch on what you said about DeAndre Ayton, Derek, I just think that DeAndre Ayton's a completely different center than Myles Turner. He's not a guy who's going to shoot well from outside.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who's going to block multiple shots a game and hit threes. He's a guy who's very much a post-presence center. He's a better rebounder than Myles Turner, and they're pretty similar scoring. DeAndre Ayton, though, has also missed a lot of games last year in particular, but both years in Portland. Some injuries have been concerned there, and they already have that with Tyrese Haliburton. So, yeah, I don't think that move would have made any sense. I think the Pacers understand that they need to worry about next summer, and that's where their focus is at. But that's all we have. We want to thank everyone for tuning in and sticking with us throughout.
Yeah, thank you for everyone tuning in today. This has been a wonderful time. Please follow us on our other social media pages, and also please listen to us on your favorite podcast platform of choice.
For Nelson Jordan and Derek Griggs, I'm Chris Nelson. This has been The First and Final Word.